probably 3,000 feet higher right up there. So I don't know exactly. I haven't looked at a topo map of that particular elevation gain, but it's the canyons go from 1,500 to 4,000 feet higher than the river bottom. And that one is the fact that it's facing north is why there's snow still on it. And I think it's one of the higher ridges, even though it looks shorter than the one that's in front of it there. I don't know if you see that, but that one that's in front there is probably at least 1,000 feet lower than the one behind. It's just that that one in front's what, half mile away, and that one behind is 5 miles away. That's a lot farther away than it looks. There's a much bigger canyon in between there and here. And that is a large hangar for helicopters, and my neighbor, the Carlsons, operate that as a um, location to fly Blackhawks and Hueys all over the western United States to service fires, to service different emergencies, and deal with those kinds of things that require a helicopter to get into quickly. Um, I was hoping to be able to walk around while we do this. Tell me if you hear a lot of wind in the background, Mark, because it's been really calm, but it's gotten windy today. So
It's not.
I know where the signal stops, and I'll stop before we get there. But
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, we hear occasional like crackling of some kind of wind. Yeah.
so these are 100-plus-year-old trees. This is, again, I've said this story before, but this is what is called Winkasha in Native American, Nez Perce, and that means healing waters. And the reason for that was the hot springs that I'll show. I'll go walk to those in a second, that ultimately were diverted into this pond that's down here in front of us. And the geese have come in for the spring, and that's what you're seeing all along the side. And there's ducks down there also. And those trees that border that pond right down there are the ones that are starting, not this one here, not the one on the very end, but these over this way. And I will run out of signal here before too long, so I can't walk too much closer. But they're actually called healing water trees. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of them. And they were planted by the Native Americans sometime back in the 19th century, probably late 19th century, before white men were even here. And again, now we're hearing those geese that are right down in front of us. What a cool sound. We're looking out again towards the Salmon River, and hearing geese all in the background. This is our building we call our cabins, and there are 3 separate rooms in this one that are available for our guests. And we are refurbishing this building right now because it's the slowest time of our year, and it's the best time for us to do labor on it. So we've shut it down for the short term while we work on it. I might be getting close to the edge of my signal, Mark. So if it gets too weak, I'll turn around.
It's still pretty good.
Anyway, these toilets aren't normally outside like you're seeing them here, but this building
Yeah.
is being worked on. It's all a log building, and there are images of it on our website that you can be looking at and show what these rooms look like. There's one that's called Steelhead, one that's called Kamloops, and one that's called um, I'm forgetting the name, Chinook. Those are all different kinds of trout family, salmon family fish. Um, these are mostly the pine trees or ponderosas. There's an orchard right back behind here that, again, it's spring, so we're just barely now getting leaves on things. That these trees all right here are fruit trees, variety of different varieties. There was a fire here about 6 years ago that literally burned almost right to the buildings. And then firefighters did what's called a back burn, and they actually started a fire near the lodge and burned away from it to eliminate the potential for a really bad burn. So it stopped the fire from getting there. This is a very old elm tree here. The big one, the biggest one here on the property. This is a underground building, as you can see there, that we call our root cellar building. Quickly go inside there and show you what it's about. 12 feet wide, 20 feet long. It takes a little effort to get it open. There we go. Ooh, it's nice and cool in here. And it's very empty.
Yeah, your signal is getting weak here. Everybody, we apologize. There might be some signal issues here.
It should be back. I came outside of that building.
Okay.
So anyway, then now that's the lodge. That's 3 stories. There's 10 lodging rooms in there. And again, all kinds of images of them on the internet. That's our cliffs and mountainside going up right above the lodge. That's 2,000 feet higher above us there. You don't see snow there because it's facing the wrong direction. It's facing where the sun will hit it. And like I said, it's been clear and calm, and we have a little front coming in right now from the Pacific Northwest. They're actually predicting very rare potential for thunderstorms along the coast in Washington and Oregon. That just rarely ever happens over there, with potential lightning strikes and tornadoes and all kinds of things that just don't happen. This is a beautiful pond once we get it running. Right now we have some pipes we need to fix on it, but that's a waterfall up above it there, and that will fill and then fill this little pond in front of it. And we'll be putting aquaculture in there. We'll have floating rafts, and we'll have koi and other ornamental warm water fish. And one of my little dogs is barking, "Sadie, shut up!" telling her to be quiet. These yellow flowers right along the outside of the hot tub pond here just bloomed today. This is the first day they've been colored. So those yellow blooms weren't even out yesterday. Earlier today, I did a call sitting right here where we're going to sit, and I'm going to turn the other way, face the pool. This should be a very strong signal right here. I might have Mark go to some websites for us. Again, because it's just getting spring. It's the first time I've really seen it where the mountainsides here are looking a little green. They were very brown all winter because it's just winter and stuff dies back and you don't see it like you're seeing it now. So any questions that you can see from the audience? This is a Talk with Wayne session. So it's up to you guys to add questions.
Yeah, I see Robert has a question. So he says, got any Dolly Varden in the water up where you at?
No, we do not have Dolly Varden. If they are, somebody's added them here and they shouldn't be here. They would be exotic species here. We do have bull trout, which are fairly rare and very unusual to be able to catch here. Dolly Varden are members of the salmonid family, and they're related to trout and salmon. And some people, don't realize it, but they really are a trout. And so, but no, we do not have Dolly Varden, and we really don't have brook trout. Waters of the Salmon River are too cold and too fast, too much velocity for brook trout to do well. We do have browns, a lot of browns. We have rainbows. Rainbows would be the most dominant non-migrating to the ocean. And then we have steelhead that migrate to the ocean, spawn up here in various different locations, and then come all the way back here 4 to 5 years later and spawn again and produce offspring. And those typically, if they're 50-year fish, can be 35 to 40 pounds. And if they're fourth-year fish, they're 15 to 25 pounds, 30 to 40 inches for the fifth year, and 25 to 35 inches for the fourth-year fish. We also have king salmon that will be the biggest of the fish that we would have that are salmonids. We actually do have a much bigger fish here in the river that I'll talk about in a minute. But on the salmonids, so we've got king salmon, like I said, bull trout, no native cutthroat trout here. However, there are cutthroat trout. They were introduced at some point, some of the smaller streams. And when you see, breaks in the mountains like you're seeing up there ahead of us, out that way, there's one in between one range of mountain and another one behind it. There was a fire that went through there, obviously, at some point. I have no idea how long ago that was. There was no fire that went through right over there where I'm pointing up that way. Anyway, the cutthroat would be in smaller streams and rivers native, but not here in the salmon. At least I don't believe. I might be wrong about that. So whitefish are also native. Whitefish is also not thought of as a salmonid, but it is. And salmonids are typically determined by a fin that they have, which is called an adipose fin, which is non-bony, and it's at the very end. Mark could probably pull a picture up, and we could show you one, just so you get a sense of it. And then the biggest fish we have here in the river that are native are sturgeon, and sturgeon will get to be 10 to 12 feet in size and weigh over 1,000 pounds sometimes. And then we also have smallmouth bass that will get 10 to 12 pounds, easily in the 5 to 7 pound range, and then some that are even bigger than that. Mark, are you throwing up an image showing a trout, and then I'll show the adipose fin?
I've got a sturgeon.
Okay, well, sturgeon. There's a sturgeon. They're big suckers, and they look
Look at that.
They look like a dinosaur a little bit. They're very ancient fish. Been around a long, long time. You don't want to catch one of those dudes on your typical rig that you'd be catching a steelhead or a salmon with.
I'll show a trout up here. Yep.
All right. So now just show a much smaller picture of one of those. I don't care which one. The adipose fin is that last fin on their back. You gotta zoom in a lot closer so people can see it. Take one of those pictures, not all that whole bunch, and just look at one of them. Now you're making them smaller, not larger. There we go. That's much better. That fin right up on the top, on the back, take your cursor and go to it. There's one big fin. Nope, not that one. That's the dorsal fin. And that little one right there, yep, that is the adipose fin. That is unique to a salmonid. salmon, trout type species. It does not have bones in it. It's just a fleshy fin, and the adipose is unique. If you don't see that, you won't. It isn't going to be a trout. But I'll show you a trout or a salmon that doesn't look a lot like it. And whitefish, if you put that in for fish, you're going to see a whole bunch of different species, Mark. But put in West Coast River whitefish, and let's just see what you come up with for an image.
I've got some pictures. Let me see what I got. All right, West Coast River whitefish. Okay.
Again, those are some, and you're going to need to again blow up one single fish the size of that last one we had. Otherwise, we can't see the fins close enough.
All right. Okay, we'll come up in a
Yeah,
second.
mountain whitefish is the right name. Yeah, those are all in an aquarium. All you can see is rocks and things. At least I'm not really being able to see them. There's a whole bunch of them in there, so there's no way you can tell. Maybe that one. It's got an adipose fin right there by that guy's right hand. His finger. There's the adipose right on the top. It's right in front of his finger there. So notice that doesn't look a lot like the trout, but it's got an adipose. Whitefishes have mouths that are more like a sucker. So whatever you're using again, Mark, is blocking the right hand side of the image. I don't know why your computer does that. We can't see the right. It's got a black thing over it, so we don't see the head of the fish.
Okay, let me share again, see if that works. Uh, how about
Still
now?
there. No, it's worse. Now you got one at the top and you got the one on the right. It's worse.
Uh,
You know, yeah, you should figure that out. Do it again. Let's get rid of that. That's awful.
try again.
No, I'm still there. Both of them are there. Again, like you said, it's worse than it was. So you got something. It's certain windows you have open.
No, it's from Zoom. So um
Now maybe you
Zoom
can
does,
just
yeah. This is the menu from Zoom. Top one goes away, but the side one is the one I
there. At least
cannot.
now we could see its head. You can see
Yeah.
its mouth is very different than what a quote trout would be. It looks like a sucker almost. That is a salmon, a whitefish, mountain whitefish. They don't get that big. That's not much. That's a pretty big one. They don't get much bigger than that. Fish are very easy to show a deceptive size for. If you ever want to fool somebody on the size of a fish, it's all how far from your body that you put it. So there's a good picture of one. There's the mouth on a whitefish, as well as some very nice fingernails from whoever that is.
Painted nails. Okay.
All right. What other questions, Mark? So that was just one question about Darley Varden.
Right. Um, okay, so Alicia has some links uh to the American Museum of Natural History. Okay. So Robert says it's really tough when you've got to sell your door for just $5. Okay. Uh, he must be selling his door. No other questions. I see a bunch of folks out there, so if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. And if somebody would like to unmute, I see that Doug Ness is in the audience. And anybody, if you'd like to unmute and talk, just let us know and we'll unmute you. So that's it for questions.
All right. Well, a little bit that went on with me earlier this week that I don't wish on anybody. Starting last Saturday, after a very nice, uneventful morning, I'm trying to remember now because I'm trying to block it out of my mind some because of how horrendous it was. I started to get some stomach flu and haven't had any kind of a digestive related issue for years. Don't remember the last one that I had that was like this one. Anyway, I just was having diarrhea, stuff coming out a loose fashion out of my rear end all evening Saturday. Woke up, wasn't any better on Sunday, and actually didn't sleep very well Saturday night, and still woke up with the problem, and went all through the day and just didn't get better, didn't get worse, just didn't get better. Um, Somebody told me that it might be norovirus because they had somewhat similar symptoms. I didn't look up noro, and noro is Noro virus. I had not heard of that before. Just like I hadn't heard of pandemic, frankly, or COVID before I heard of that 5 years ago. But anyway, Sunday night I had the biggest sort of vomit explosion coming from my mouth. It was right out of the movie The Exorcist. I mean, I just exploded. Fortunately, was not in bed at the time. I had been sleeping, just resting or trying to sleep, not sleeping, but resting before, and, and literally just exploded. And then it got a little better for a little while. Again, very restless night, Sunday night. And then Monday, I was intending to come up here to Riggins, but didn't because I still felt awful. And and now didn't have anything more on the front end, but was still having pretty bad diarrhea. Finally, that broke in the evening sometime. So I woke up Tuesday and was almost gone. I mean, frankly, I think it was. I didn't have more, slept better. But anyway, good enough that I then drove up here from our home, which is about 3.5 hour drive, the next following morning or afternoon. So I left at about noon, about 11 a.m. and got up here later in the afternoon on Tuesday. So I
Yeah.
was here.
So this is what norovirus looks like. So this is a lot like the coronavirus.
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of the viruses look like that. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's not uncommon for the shape of them.
Right.
Very, very contagious. Does not spread through the air. It's not airborne. Can only spread through food. So then I started to think, what was it that I had eaten? And it probably wasn't. It wasn't anything at home. I had traveled last week. I had traveled to um, Ohio and Pennsylvania uh, by plane on Wednesday and Thursday, and and had probably gotten this while I was on that trip somewhere. And they say that airports is just a horrible place to pick it up anymore. So anyway, and like I said, finally got over it Tuesday. So, but I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Um, this is a device that we've got in our a lot of our water here because we really want to keep track of the temperature in different types of water bodies. This is our pool. This is hot water. coming here from directly from the hot spring, which is over that way. We'll walk over that way in a second. And it comes in here over there, right in the middle through that. We call that the cake. And that could become a fountain if we wanted it to be. And, um, and it spreads out and ultimately also comes into the hot tub area, which is what you see over there. So comes into there at 106 degrees and then spreads out. And that's right. You know what? It's not coming to the cake anymore. It actually is going over that direction. And these are called Govee, the company that makes these. So here's it's 85 right now. See that there. So that's in the pool. By the way, this is we keep this a lot cleaner typically. And look at the difference in temperature. Look how fast it'll show me what it is. It's going to change really quickly here to about 105. There it is, 105.3.
Whoa, that's hot.
Actually, just about perfect for a hot tub.
Right.
So it isn't that hot, really. I'm gonna move it back to the other one. We had something that the only negative of these things. I love them, but there's a kind of a breakdown circumstance of them that I don't like so much. You're gonna see that takes all. Look how quickly it went down to 85 again. So now it's down at 85 again from 105. Is it that we've got 6 of them and only 3 are working because the other 3 literally their batteries are fine, but they just went down. So the spring comes in right over on that hillside. There's actually a sign over there next to those trailers and those lawnmowers. I don't want to walk that way because the dog I mentioned, the puppy that I have, just stopped barking and I don't want her to start again. She probably saw me sitting there and that's why she was barking. But the start of the spring is right above, right in those blackberries on the hillside there where there's a green sign that says hot spring. And it's probably a 50-year-old sign. And then it flows under the driveway and it comes out through a culvert and it's also collected and that's the water that flows down here to the pond itself and the pool. So this is totally a flow through. There's no testing here. There's no filtration. There's no water modification at all. So it's just like it's the river that we put concrete around. So there's on the sides of the river, and we're taking that hot water and we're just quickly moving it through that hot tub and that pool. And in 24 hours, that pool will, if you completely emptied it, it would fill up again in 24 hours and the water will turn over. The hot tub, the water turns over in about every 8 hours. So, but we're losing a huge amount of it. All that area that's right there, that's black in look, is hot water. That's all the water that we're not collecting that is being wasted and just going down towards the river. By the way, we've got quail on the field right there. I got to show you this. That's kind of cool. I did wish I had a hunting dog out right now. They're running along the ground. I think I'll keep my signal. There, one of them got up and flew just a little bit. See if they'll fly further here. They kind of hunkered down into the grass a little bit. Dog's now seeing me out of the truck. I'm surprised she hasn't started barking. I think I can go down this way a little. You can see our greenhouse right there. We're going to have a bunch of those before we're done developing here. And then that's our bridge across the Salmon River. Tell me if the signal gets weak again here, Mark. But I'm walking towards these quail that are drinking right there now.
Okay. Yeah, it's good right now.
That's elk poop. We get a massive amount of elk coming in here. Again, make sure to tell me if anybody has questions. Anyway, we're going to be taking and collecting this water and greatly enhancing the recreational value of these hot springs. So this water right here, where it's black, and where I'm walking is just a little spongy, so it means there's water right under it. But if I had one of those thermometers in this water right here, and look how far we are away, we're 200 yards away from where the source is, that water would be 90 degrees probably. And it's only that cool because it's just not that cool from the air that it's hitting here. We want to put multiple more water collection areas that are like hot tubs. So they'll be either plastic or concrete, some kind of human made. You won't know what this material is because we'll actually put rocks like these, native rocks, granitic rocks, granite. That's magma, essentially volcanic, granitic rock. Those are cliffs right above our hot springs area. And that's going to be where we put a Via Ferrata course. Look up Via Ferrata, Mark. VIAFERRAT. I think is 1 T-A. Via Ferrata. Wow, look at my why is my brain going dead? I'm not a plant guy. These are bulbous flowers. Anybody know? Somebody tell me what those are. Alicia should get this, or somebody.
Okay.
They are. They literally just bloomed today. They are. What are they? Not daffodils, not violets. They might be violets, actually, but I don't think that's right. I actually hear water flowing under here that I don't like. I'm going to look into the door. So we have all kinds of plates out here that lead to different things. Nozzles. Another thing, that's a clean out. That's why it's a 4-inch PVC pipe that doesn't have a valve in it, where you can just open that up and water flow out. But I'm hearing water under the pool here, which is going down underneath here. It really shouldn't be doing that. It's dripping from up above. Not really sure why. We have not figured this all out. We are looking for any good recommendations of experts about hot springs. It's easy to find people who have been, involved in, and that's new, by the way, that just fell off. This is all old and it's just fallen apart in places. This just came down, the wind or something probably took this down in the last day even. So
So here's a question.
Sure.
Climate climate pattern and water quality linked in farming landscapes. Any thoughts?
It doesn't sound like a question to me. If that's a comment, great. Show it to everybody. I didn't hear a question there.
Okay.
What was the question, Mark? Did I miss it? What was it?
Yeah, she wants to know your thoughts on the climate pattern and water quality being linked
I
in
don't,
farming. Yeah.
there's probably links to climate pattern in a lot of things, but I'm not sure water quality. I don't think if you were somebody who's really worried and scared about climate change, that is human caused, okay? Because if there's climate change going on and it's just God caused, which is what I believe it is for the most part, very controversial, by the way. I know there are going to be people out there that don't like that answer at all. They don't like the God part, for one thing, but then they don't like the fact that you could even possibly be a scientist and believe that it isn't totally human oriented. I personally believe we are in a climate change pattern, and it involves warming. But back in 1985, it was the coldest year in the last 2,000 years, just 1985, 30 years ago, that they had. And they didn't even have records. So, for at least, let's say, written records, 100 plus years of written records. But anyway, bottom line is you start to just equate sort of water quality to climate differences, especially warming. And there's a lot of data that would show that warming actually improves water quality because it burns off. And that's not the right word. It's not burning like a fire, but warmer water has a higher level of moisture leaving it. And because of that, you have less very light pollutants that would stay in it. So if there's really a warming trend, human caused or not, then you would expect there to be better water quality, potentially, if you're just looking at it globally. Water quality, frankly, has got little to do with water temperature compared to what it has to do with what the inputs into those waters were from agriculture, from urban pollution, from human direct pollution in very highly populated areas such as China, where a lot of places where millions of people live, they poop right into the rivers. I mean, right into the rivers. That's not good for water quality. So,
Okay. So, Robert has a question. So, can the 90-degree water be recirculated to provide warmth for
yes.
high? Okay.
Well, keep going. Or what? You had more there. It sounded like.
For greenhouses, like keeping your tomatoes and veggies happy.
Yeah, absolutely can. We believe that is one of the uniquenesses of this site. And not that it's that much more unique than any hot springs type location, but that's something where I would love it for people to find me really good research about utilizing hot springs waters for multiple uses. So, sharing economy kind of mentality related to use of hot water. So if you have naturally hot water, in our case, it comes out of the ground at 118 degrees year round consistently. Um, if you've got that and it's at high enough volume, then what are other things you could do with it other than use it for, we'll just broadly call it recreation, which is what it's used for primarily in most places that people have done something with it. In some places, people have used spring water to drink, but usually that's not hot springs water. It's springs water from a variety of other kinds of different springs. Our water, we've done extensive testing of it from these waters, and the reason there is such a huge amount of wildlife here is that it's absolutely crystal clear, clean. Um, there might be a little solids in it from the animals that are in it and different things that blow into it and so on. But its water quality is just exceptional. It has a little higher level of sulfur than what you might typically say you'd quote like, because sulfur's got a smell to it. But you just let it sit for just an hour or so and the sulfur smell goes away. But we've done extensive testing of it, and it is literally maybe optimal to be drank. So I haven't answered your question, by the way. I'm going to get to heating and cooling with it. But one of those uses that is greatly underutilized, certainly it's not used here at all, is to drink um, water that is coming out of a hot springs. what would be optimal is to take water coming out of a hot springs and use it first to heat and or cool. And in our case, how do you cool with hot water? Well, using what are called heat pump systems, where you could take that hot water, put it down under the ground where it 6 to 7 feet down. In most places in our area, not a difference from that. It is 50 degrees, 50 to 60 degrees. So you're cooling it, and if you make it like a refrigerator, you move water through lots of different little pipes, like you would in a compressor in a refrigeration type system. You can cool it down and use it for cooling. But what's a lot easier to think about is to put it into some kind of a delivery system and directly dilute it with cold water, which we also have an abundance of. The Salmon River down there is running at about 48 degrees right now, and it doesn't often get over 55, and it does get down to freezing, so it gets down to 32. But it's always year round. We don't ever get completely iced in here. So there's surface water always flowing by. And you can combine the cold water with warm water and use radiant heat. One, you can put it underneath surfaces of buildings, inside greenhouses, inside plant production systems, all kinds of ways to distribute it and warm up soil, warm up water, warm up whatever it is you want to be growing things in. Or you could go directly in it, mix it, get it to the temperature you want it, and use it in a hydroponic setting, hydroponic / aquaponic, hybrid aquaponics. And I think you know that I'm one of those that is pretty disappointed that for years we've said that aquaponics is this nirvana, because it's not. Fish don't produce enough aquatic macroorganisms, fish, shrimp, mussels, clams, mollusks, don't produce enough phosphate to optimally grow plants. That phosphate has to come from other sources. So you are always going to have to add it some way. These plants are growing in a media that is native soil, dirt, as massive farmers take throughout this country. It is getting windy though. I think I'm going to try to get out of this wind just to get the noise down. And I'm not distracting you guys, but it is distracting me. So
Right. So here's
it absolutely should be used for heating and cooling, and we're going to be using it for that purpose, but we're not now.
right. Here's a question from Alicia. This is about flooding. So she asks any immediate steps that municipality can take to prevent major flooding.
Well, that's not something I'm an expert on, but there's probably tens of millions of pages of information that other people have written and published about that topic, because flooding has occurred since time began, and people have had it affect them in their cities and towns since we've had recorded history. And so, yeah, obviously every culture on the earth has put together means in which to stop or avoid damage from reduce damage from flooding. And so going into the lodge, and here's my buddy Viking coming to say hi.
There's Viking.
So here's again what it looks like inside. These are some Native American relics and some very famous artists, some of their artwork.
Oh, wow.
There's anyway, the answer to your question, Alicia, there's been lots of study on that. I mean, I don't think it's not my expertise. We shouldn't spend the time to talk a lot about that. You can quickly just do a couple links and you'll find all kinds of data on that. Sorry,
Right. She's
better light here, but these are
yeah.
3 salmon, life-sized, carved out of stone. If you look at these up close, you're going to see detail you wouldn't even believe. That's all carved with stone. So pretty cool.
Okay. What is the optimal water temperature for shrimp farming?
85 degrees Fahrenheit.
85. All right. Okay. Okay. So
Well, it depends when you say shrimp farming. Pacific Pacific marine white shrimp, which is the vast majority of what we all eat, is what I'm
mhm,
talking about. And that is what its optimal temperature
okay.
is.
All right. And like in the sweetwater shrimp, right? Like the ones that are farmed
Yes,
inland. Yeah. Okay.
farmed in your part of the world, Mark.
Yep.
Huge. It's a big industry I know of Bangladesh and
Yes.
and China and Vietnam and Thailand and any Southeast Asian country. So yes.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, that suits with our weather. So our weather is like in around that temperature. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh,
That's optimal. Again, and the more tropical where temperatures don't change a lot throughout the year, the more likely you can keep those temperatures. Um, so most of the shrimp farming is in those. However, that's what we want to. We'll grow those here, and again, because we'll be able to with the warm water that we have, and it's got a little bit more salt in it already, just a little bit more. We'll just add some more that we can get naturally, and then we'll have optimal growing conditions for Pacific marine white shrimp.
all right. Alicia has a couple of links. I can show them. So she has a link for uh why why are the British flooding part of their coast. So this is one site about flooding. Then she has one about
And I
uh,
just thought, I think it said resurrecting wetlands. I mean,
right.
so flooding can be done on purpose for just that reason. Again, remember, aquatic systems, if they're just left alone, will move towards becoming terrestrial. Does that make sense, everybody? A wetland area was not just a wetland years and years and years ago. It was a pond. And over time, sediment washed into it. And again, if it's not somehow abused, over time it'll get less deep and that water will go saturated into the muds, the soils on the bottom of the pond, and eventually plants, different kinds of plants will begin to grow. It's mainly the plants that are going to change the ecosystem. And those plants are now going to die on a regular basis, and they're going to also decay, not quickly though, slowly, and they're going to create more soil. Eventually, that pond will be gone. We'll now call it a wetland. Eventually, it's sometimes called a marsh. And take it long enough, and it'll become lowland dry, which is the most fertile of lands in the world. Lowlands that were flooded underwater for some period of time in the past.
Uh, she also has a link for Earth Day every day. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah,
Earth Day's coming up, April around the 21st, third Saturday in April.
right, right. So this is some good articles here. Everybody ought to check this out.
By the way, Doug, we need to, it's our turn to have you guys over before you head back to Alaska. Doug will be headed back to his amazing lodge and his summer life up in Alaska in the near future. And we need to have he and his wife, because they live close to us in the Nampa Treasure
Yeah.
Valley area. And we need to have you guys over for dinner. It's our turn.
Yeah, Doug is unmuted, so he could talk
Okay, you
if he
can hear me
wanted.
now. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, fascinating place there. Uh, Interesting point of history I was involved in the first Earth Day uh, celebration parades that we had back in college.
Yeah.
And of course, in those days, we were facing an ice age.
Hello.
Right. That's what everybody's worried about. As I said,
That's what it was. That was a big thing. It was an ice age was coming. So
Wow.
we see a lot of interesting times. So I was part of it, and it's pretty fascinating. But yeah, you got quite a place there. It's pretty. I can see the excitement of just piecing, using this creation and making good things out of it, and sharing it with people. That's really a unique thing there, boy.
Yeah, I
And
see a string instrument in the shelf.
yeah. I was just about to say, the family that owned this for the longest period of time, from 1990 to 2018,
Lovely house. Look at that.
I don't know who that is in the background there, but anyway,
Bob Foyer.
it's who?
Bob,
Who's this?
It was hold on, I unmuted Alicia.
she's visiting me.
Oh, okay, it's somebody. Why don't you?
Bob Foyer.
Hi, Bob. How you
Put
doing?
my resume on there. I'm an aquatic ecologist.
Awesome. All right.
Okay.
Why don't you mute that so that I can finish answering Doug's question or your question about the guitar?
Right.
The Bradbury family owned this for 30 some years, from 1990 to 2018. And so 28 years. And they collected all this Native American art, Doug and Mark. And they have a list of where a lot of this came from and history of it. So, and they're going to get it for me. And we just keep not being able to get together. Joe, my guy that manages this place, who's not here right now, because he's down at an event that's occurring in Boise called Tree Fort. It's a music event. Is huge in the Boise area. Something's still in the background there, Mark. You're going to need to mute that. Anyway,
Okay.
they'll that event's going on, and Joe's down there at that event, and he's going to be seeing Jim Bradbury, who has this report about all the history of all this stuff. So I'm really excited about finding it. There are a number of original pieces of art here from the 1800s that we know of. So
All right. Yeah, I'm going to unmute Doug one more time. So Doug can, if you want, you can unmute yourself. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, your dog looks happy. Wow.
Mark, you're unmuting that same person that was just talking to another right now. Mark.
Yeah, I've got Doug on the line now.
Wayne, when do you see starting to do some?
Lost Doug there.
I'm going to try this. Okay.
He said, when do you see starting to do something? And then he broke off.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep, now I can.
Yes.
Okay, I got somebody coming there. Just when do you see starting to get going on the aquatics and the development there?
We're actually advertising right now for a head of aquaculture system management, and I've gotten 4 responses, 2 of which I've already talked to, and one of them is even a potential. He's an East Coast guy, which means if, hiring a person is sort of number 1. Number 2 is funding. We do need to raise some money. There's a doing the conversion of that we'd like to do on the hot spring system is at least a $250,000 to $300,000 project, and could be more if we really did it right. So, and that, I mean, funds are, it's interesting. When you really, really need them, you seem like you can't get them. And sometimes if you just say, God, just kind of throw them at me, then they kind of come. So, again, we use forums like this one and getting shorts out of this after we're done and such that anybody watches this, we need money to do that kind of thing. So we're looking for partners, people who would partner with us and be willing to trust us with their funds, and then together being our funds, that'll allow us to do these kinds of projects. Doug, I've said this before, one of the reasons that this place is so amazing is there's no zoning requirements here for anything we can do, and big deal, no permitting. So as long as we don't violate existing permits, we don't even have to get a permit to do electrical work. Even we don't have to have a commit to do different kinds of plumbing, to put in a different kind of a pool system and such. So
Yeah, that's a real positive thing. Yeah, out in the bush in Alaska, we have the same thing, but it's stewardship. You want to make sure you do everything right because you want it to last indefinitely. So it's but it makes it a lot easier without having to go through red tape. But yeah, that's a great scenario there. Boy.
I think there are some very well off financially, very smart thinking, and people that want to try to help do things to make the planet better. And this is, I think, really one of those who we're going to continue to try to find. And if we do, those are going to allow us to get funded so much more quickly. And then we will be able to do these, because I've, on the aquatic side, that's my passion. And I probably have more of that plan down than anything else that we can do here. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got to get heading here too. So thanks for the day.
Good for your partner.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll be in touch, Wayne. Yep.
All right. See you, Doug.
Will you provide any financial benefit for your partners? Like stocks? You want to sell stock at all?
Our partners will get ownership, yes. So, I mean, again, we don't trade on the New York Stock Exchange, but yes, nobody would ever invest in something without getting some benefit of ownership. So, yes.
Privately owned then, okay.
All right.
Sort of like Tesla, right? Okay.
Yeah. All right. What other questions from the audience? It's the top of the hour, so what else do we have, Mark?
Well, Rutgers is sponsoring their Earth Day Every Day program. At least you put that up there for us, okay?
Yeah, I don't see questions. I see some links from
And
at
the
least
short
from Robert.
video at least you put up too.
Mark, please stop him.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Gotta mute you. All right, we're at the top of the hour.
Again, I'm sorry, everybody, but that was just annoying. That's not the intent of this program, to just let somebody start to take over and babble. So anyway, if they want, they can have whatever the name is, a Talk with Bob Hoyer show, right? They can do that themselves, can't they? Anybody could. So have a Talk with Bob Hoyer show. Anyway, anything else you see, Mark?
I don't see anything else right now.
All right. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Mark will be doing some kind of a replay tomorrow, I believe. We have a live webinar with a new guest next week. And I would really like to talk with him before we do the webinar a little bit, before we get that going. So we should try to see if that can get scheduled, Mark, before. So.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.